a video on fermenting some apple juice. So my sister's apple tree has bared its fruits, and I collected a load of apples. I've still got some left. I've got quite a few left. But I made apple juice. I've frozen loads of it to make apple juice drink, and I just kind of thought, I remembered that I wanted to test my home collected yeast against some proper champagne yeast. So I bought some champagne yeast, and so I'm going to do one with the homegrown yeast, and we're going to do one with the champagne yeast, and we're going to see how long it takes to ferment, if it's kind of a similar amount of time, and then we're also going to do a taste test as well. I'm not going to test the alcohol level. I think I'll be able to. You can buy things that measure the alcohol level, and I think the champagne yeast will have more alcohol in it, because it'll I think gets about 15%, something like that. So I should be able to taste the difference. So we're going to do a taste test, and I'll be able to tell the alcohol kind of difference and how long it takes, out of curiosity. So which kind of one tastes nice as well. And then I've got the pear syrup, which I fermented using my home made yeast, and then it's still kind of quite sweet. It's a little bit alcoholic, but it's still a little bit sweet. So I was kind of thinking, if we add some champagne yeast to this now, will it carry on fermenting? Just out of curiosity. Like, I don't know why. Like lots of kind of reasons. Like, once you've fermented something with one type of yeast, can you ferment it with another type of yeast? I don't know. Let's find out. And also kind of decide whether if there is enough sugar still in there to carry on fermenting it. It'll just kind of like answer lots of little kind of niggly questions I've got. Can you? But mostly, can you do it? Is my answer, and I want to kind of find out. So it's already been fermented once, so it just needs some champagne yeast in it, and then we'll kind of see if it carries on fermenting and how long it takes and all that kind of stuff. So this is my home collected yeast. So we just need about 3 teaspoons of the liquid. There is a video on how to collect your home collected yeast somewhere, but it's pretty straightforward. You just smash up some grapes. You don't buy some grapes, don't wash them, smash them up, put them in a jar with a lid, slightly wool, a bit of cloth over the top with a rubber band around it, and then so the flies can't get in. Leave it for a few days. It starts to bubble, and then you know you've kind of collected some yeast and it's naturally started fermenting. So it's pretty straightforward, and an easy way to get into home fermenting rather than having to think about buying yeast. Although this was about about £6, including post and packaging, and it will do 5 gallons, 23 litres worth of juice that you're going to ferment. So you know it's not a bad price, but you're still going to buy it, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? And I kind of think if you can do something for free to have a play around first, that's kind of a good idea, isn't it? You know, like if you want to get into things in life, if you can do it as cheaply as possible, see if you enjoy doing it, and then you can have another go. I'm not going to weigh this out. I'm just going to pour some in. Then you can do, if you can do it for a little amount of money, and then see if you enjoy doing it. And if you enjoy doing it, you can spend more on. Oops, that's probably a bit too much. You can spend more on doing it properly. So that one sealing back up properly. I bought some before and it died kind of quite quickly, so I don't know what the shelf life is on it. But anyway, so shake that around, and then we'll go for the super cheap option of. We'll go for the super cheap option today of using balloons with a hole in as an air. I just need to wipe that as an airlock. So as the balloon fills up with the gas released by the yeast, it will let air out because it's got a pinprick hole in it, and it won't let any air in because we don't want air to be let in, because that air. I might need to put another balloon on that. Need to put another balloon on that. It's got a split. So it will let, as the pressure builds up, it will let air out, but it won't let air in, and potentially air that wants to get into your fermentation will have different types of yeast and bacteria which will want to ruin your fermentation. So if we just, and also when we put a balloon on, when the fermentation is over, the balloon, see I messed that up, will deflate slightly so we can tell that the fermentation has stopped or slowed down. So if we just squeeze out of that, we know that it's, so like that, we'll leave it like that, then we know it will have started fermenting when it fills up. So these are a little bit trickier because they're bigger, but you get the idea. And then it should start fermenting over the next couple of days. We'll keep an eye on it. And as soon as it starts to ferment, we'll kind of show that it's started fermenting. So you can buy proper airlocks. They're not that expensive, but balloons are really cheap. So you can just use any glass bottle that you've got lying around, nice and clean and sterilised, and some balloons and some yeast that you collected, and you can start your own fermenting. So I'll find another balloon, but I'll do the same with that, and we're back in a couple of days when it starts properly fermenting. Right, an update on the cider. So this one was a champagne yeast. This one was my home collected yeast. Wild collected yeast. I mean, it's wild. It's in my own house. I don't know if that makes that wild. But anyway, so that was the yeast that I collected myself from some grapes, and this is the pear juice with the champagne yeast in it, which I don't know why I'm saying all this. This is just like an update, isn't it? I'm thinking like it's going to be another video, and it's not. Anyway, so we've got a little bit of fermentation in the pear one. I added some more champagne yeast to it, and if I shake it a little bit, we get some bubbles right into the top, but it's really kind of quite slow, so I don't know what's happening with that. The champagne yeast kind of, look at my fingernails. I've been gardening, my fingernails are a bit dirty. So the champagne yeast, we're on Tuesday today. The champagne yeast, and I started fermenting them on Saturday. The champagne yeast was going straight away on Sunday. Not straight away, but it started fermenting and bubbling on the Sunday. I had to add another lot of yeast to the to this one, my wild collected yeast, and it's kind of like kickstart, and I've kind of had to, I put it on the windowsill as well, so I get a bit of sunshine and get a bit of warmth, but it's really going now, and I kind of think that it's, if you listen, that's it whistling out of the top of the balloon, wherever it's kind of coming out of. If I could find the hole, we could make it expand even more, but I can feel it. But anyway, so it's a little bit full, is that one, so I think I need to knock a bit of liquid out of that and change the balloon, because it's bubbled up into the balloon, and I don't want it to go off or anything like that. So I'll get another balloon and I'll put that on there, and we'll give that another few days to see how that one's going. I'm going to pour some liquid out of that one, but it's going, and I'm quite impressed because the apple juice, I don't think I've got any. Yeah, I've got some apple juice. So the apple juice that I squeezed out, it loses its colour kind of quite quickly, and it goes a little bit brown, still a little bit greeny, but like brown. So that's the one that I've been drinking at home. So they kept the colour, which I'm really kind of quite impressed about. They are cloudy at the moment. When they've stopped fermenting and we let them settle, they will go kind of quite clear. So and they'll be like a bit of a green tinge to them. But they'll clear up and they'll go look, and they'll look like proper cider. Well, it is proper cider, isn't it? But anyway, so I need to tip some out of there, change that balloon so we don't kind of get any nasty bacterial growth or other yeast or anything like that growing in there. But everything looks like it's going. So we'll give it a month. Shall I do this video in one go or not? No, because I mean now's the time of year where you're going to be collecting apples. So I kind of think if someone wants to make their own cider using wild collected yeast, or buy some champagne yeast, or if they've got some yeast kicking about, and this is kind of the year what to do it, the time what to do it. So if you're going to do it, like do it now. So I might as well do the video now, and then we'll put the results up in a month's time or something like that. If this one isn't in the video, then it's kind of failed. I won't do another update on that. It might be down to, it might be too sugary. It might just be taking a little bit longer to get going. I'm not entirely sure. It might be the spices in there that are making it react a little bit slower. But I don't know. But like most things, I'm faff around and I find things out as I go along. But anyway, so that's that, and we'll see what they look like in a month, or when they stop fermenting. Which is, so when you use balloons and they stop fermenting, that happens. So it just kind of it loses pressure, and you can tell when it stops fermenting because there's no more pressure building up, and it just kind of goes a bit floppy. But that just hasn't started properly fermenting yet. Anyway, if it's going to start fermenting, I can shake it like that, and I can see some bubbles rising. So, but I just don't know. We'll have to see. Might just get a bit of the yeast going in another bit of liquid, and add it to that. Maybe pour some of that liquid out and water it down a bit, and then see if we can get it fermenting that way. But if I do that, it'll be in the next video. This might be kind of quite interesting, and it'll show you how quickly it is fermenting. So, fresh balloon on, and I'm not going to put a hole in it, but we'll just leave it, and it'll show you how fast it's going to fill up with air, if it does. Maybe not. Maybe not. Is this really interesting? Is it moving? That's like pumping up a tyre. I can see all the bubbles. There's loads of bubbles coming up. It's just taking its time. Nope. Well, I won't start all that. I'll put some stuff back in the cupboard while I'm waiting. And remember that I need to get some string out for the weekend. I guess if I don't remember to get the string out when I remember to get it out, I might just not take it with me. Some more string. No more string in the box of stuff, so I can go back in the cupboard. Talking to myself as always. No, you can't really. Oh no. Is it? Oh no, it's getting there. It's actually filling out. I need to put a hole in it. But you'll see. Very interesting. At this point, I'd normally do some washing up. And I'm talking to myself. Goes around the kitchen, not being able to do any washing up. I seem to spend far too much of my life doing washing up. See, getting there. Getting there. I'll put a timestamp in this, but you don't kind of need to see. Boring timestamp. You don't need to see this bit, you know what I mean? You can always timestamp it out. There must be videos on YouTube somewhere of balloons slowly inflating. There must be. There's videos on YouTube of everything. I've got my pin ready, just to put a hole in it. See, that just doesn't want to ferment. I don't think it does. There's some little. Maybe I should put it on the windowsill in the wall. I don't know. But that's definitely filling up, isn't it? Definitely filling up. Kind of expected to be a bit like a hot air balloon, you know, when you see them getting going. But it's not doing that. Kind of something we're doing at the same time. And to replace the salt container. Needs some cooking salt. I'll take that container, leave it out, remind me that I need to buy some more cooking salt. And put those things back in the oven while I remember. Still got a squeaky oven door. Well, it's moving, isn't it? Slowly moving. It's getting there. Getting there. All riveting stuff. And we're just doing the washing up no longer. It looks like it's building a bit of pressure up around there. Something else I want to do as well. Always things to do. Hey, see, look, it's moving. See, if I was a betting man, we could have had some bets, couldn't we? There you go. We could have, what we call it, if I was a, there you go. It's almost kind of getting ready there. So you can see that it didn't, well, it took 5 minutes, something like that, for that to fill with air. So it's certainly fermenting enough to fill the balloon quite quickly. So hole in, just to double make sure. It's definitely gone in. So hole in, and then the air can escape, so it won't fully inflate it. It will get to a certain stage where the air pressure inside is greater than on the outside, so it will push out some air, and nowhere it will act like a airlock, so no air will be able to get back in. So there we go. Fascinating stuff, eh? So it looks like the pear juice has failed, and these balloons have deflated. However, my natural yeast that I collected, it sometimes inflates itself. So I think that it might be down to the temperature, because it's cooled down now quite a bit. So it might be down to the temperature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave them somewhere a little bit warmer today and see if they can warm up in the sunshine. I know you're not supposed to do that, you're not supposed to have them in the sunshine. But the sun will just warm them a bit, and we'll see if we can get the yeast to kind of get a little bit more active, because I don't want to just think that it's taken 2 weeks to ferment, something like that. I think it should probably take a little bit longer than that. The last time I made some cider, it was going for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, something like that. But it wasn't homemade. It wasn't homemade apple juice. But it's a nice colour. So we'll kind of see. So I'll stick it on the windowsill, and if the balloons inflate, then we know that it's carrying on fermenting. I think it's just kind of seeing the bubbles. There are some bubbles around there. and some like micro bubbles. But I don't think there's enough bubbles coming up to inflate the balloons. But anyway, I'll put it on the windowsill for the day, and we'll see if the sunshine gets the fermentation going. So, I don't know if you can just see, but there are some bubbles rising to the top. There you go, you can see some bubbles. So that one we're looking at there, that's the champagne one, and that's the collected yeast. See some bubbles there. You can just see some bubbles. So it is still fermenting, even though the balloons aren't fully deflating. Deflating? No, not deflating. Inflating. So if you are going to use balloons, you just need to be aware that they deflate when the fermentation process slows down, but it's still fermenting. So we'll wait. I'll leave it on the windowsill. I'm not that bothered if it's going to be on the windowsill. It affects the colour or anything like that. It should be fine. But I'm not going to put it on a heat pad, and it's not really warm enough in the rest of the house to put it somewhere out of the sunlight where it's warm enough to help the fermentation process. But there we go. It's still fermenting. So it looks like the cider is ready, and it's only taken a couple of weeks. So that's kind of quite interesting, because when I made the cider with my home collected yeast and I used the cheap apple juice from the supermarket, it took ages. It took like, did it take nearly 2 months? It certainly took a month. It took ages, might have even been 6 weeks, but it took ages. So that's kind of quite interesting. And is that down to the amount of sugar that was in the cheap apple juice from the supermarket? So that begs the question that we really should, because these have taken both about 2 weeks. Obviously the one with the champagne yeast was off to a flying start. Was that one, and then I'm sure that's the champagne yeast one. Yeah, because it's got more sediment at the bottom. So the champagne yeast went off to a flying start, and that one kind of stopped quicker. And then the home collected yeast one was a little bit slower, but then kind of got going, and it was fizzing about the same kind of time. And then it stopped fermenting. So I put it on the windowsill for a bit of warmth, and it fizzed a little bit more. And during the day the balloons would expand, but then they stopped on an evening. So, and that's what's happened now. So I've had it in the fridge for like 12 hours, something like that, to kind of cool it down. So I want to taste it cold. This is the pear juice. That failed. Did that one? So yeah. So let's get back on track with thinking about the cheap apple juice from the supermarket. So my thoughts on that are, as I've still got some champagne yeast, and it should still be fine. It should still be usable. Then we're missing a light. We should have another go with the cheap supermarket apple juice. Why am I forgetting my words? I haven't even been drinking. So we really should have another go with cheap supermarket apple juice and compare the time that the champagne yeast takes to ferment it compared to my homemade yeast, which I still got. It should still be okay. Yes, that smells yeasty. A little bit alcohol-y. Certainly it'll need a feed on that, I think. Yeah, we've still got some bubbles coming up, but it'll need a feed with that. So let's give it a taste. I've got some lids as well. So put on the cider. Now there's a nice bit of. Let's see if we can gently take this off without turning the camera off. So there's a nice bit of sediment at the bottom of these, and I think that'll be. There's more in this one, which is the what we call it, which is the home collected yeast. So there's a nice amount of sediment at the bottom, and I think that'll be a mixture of yeast and sediment from the apple juice, because it was kind of quite cloudy. So I think that's what it will be. I don't think it will be all yeast, because that seems quite a lot of yeast for like only 2 litres of juice. So, but I think what we'll do with that is we'll save that yeast and sediment, and we'll have another go at making some Marmite with that, I think that'll be kind of quite interesting. And I want to have another go at making Marmite. I made some Marmite. I've made it twice. Sure, I've been collecting. So I made it twice, and it was I made it with some yeast from beer, and it wasn't very nice. And then I made it with some yeast that I grew myself. Why am I talking about Marmite when we're supposed to be tasting cider? But anyway, so I've been collecting. When I've been fermenting things, I've been collecting the sediment from the bottom and the yeast and things. So I've got this. So this is lots of sediment and yeast from some other projects. So we'll have another go at making some Marmite with all that. If it's nice to taste, I'll have to taste it first. But anyway, getting sidetracked, we should be tasting cider. So this is a champagne one. It's not going to be fizzy. It's cloudy, but you know, so is the juice. I think this is a little browner in colour. It's clearer because it took a little bit longer to start fermenting. So the apple juice had time to discolour. So we'll put some lids on those. And these lids will stop it from turning into vinegar. Fingers crossed. They're clean. That one's not going to work. All this one. There we go. We'll keep them in the fridge as well. So, although I suppose I need to talk to someone about fermenting. But like I would have thought that something the champagne yeast should have higher alcohol content compared to my yeast. So therefore I would have automatically assumed that it took longer to ferment. But I don't know. I'll ask my friend Dale. He'll know. But anyway, so champagne yeast. It's quite dry. So the yeast has certainly taken all the sugar out of that and turned it into alcohol. So, but it doesn't taste very alcoholic. It kind of begs the question, was it a fast fermentation because there wasn't that much sugar in my apples? Well, my sister's apples. Not as dry. Not as dry. Yeah, sorry, my fingernails are a little bit dirty. I've been repointing the house. I'm faffing around with hawthorns. I shouldn't apologise, should I? It's my house. I can do what I want in it. And if my fingernails are dirty, they're dirty. So, what do we think? I think I preferred the cider that I made with the cheap supermarket apple juice. Although it's nice. But obviously the apples that you use are going to make, if you use nicer apple juice from nicer apples, you're going to make a nicer cider. Although, it's got a little bit of an aftertaste that's not as nice. Whereas the champagne one hasn't got an aftertaste, like a long aftertaste, like a not unpleasant aftertaste, but just not as nice aftertaste. There we go. I don't think it makes that much difference. By all means, what was the purpose of this video? It was compare them both, wasn't it? So I don't think it really matters. If you're making cider from homemade, from apples that you've got on your tree, I don't think you need to buy champagne yeast. You can use your own collected yeast that you cultivated yourself, and it makes certainly a nice cider. Nice and clear as well. It's still a little bit cloudy. It's nice and clear. There we go. Maybe that's why there's more sediment in the bottom of that one, because it's cleared it better than that one. Maybe if the champagne yeast done a better job of clearing the what we call it, the apple juice, there will be more sediment at the bottom. But anyway, so a success. What did we learn? We don't have to use proper champagne yeast, although it's always a bit of fun. And yes, certainly the quality of the apples, the taste of the apple juice certainly affects the cider taste. And that's not the apple juice that I drink, that I make from my sister's tree, from the apples. My sister's apple tree is a nice apple juice to drink. So not necessarily a nice apple juice doesn't necessarily make a nice cider. That's kind of quite interesting. When I eventually talk to someone who makes cider, I'll ask them about that. It'll be kind of quite interesting. Maybe they use different apples. That's kind of quite interesting, isn't it? Maybe they use different apples to get different flavours, and they blend apple juices to get a perfect balance of sharp and sweetness. Or maybe they make different. No, they wouldn't do that, would they? No, they wouldn't make lots of different batches of cider, and then thingamajig, and then blend it like they would do a what do we call it, like a blended whiskey. I think what they'll do, right, okay, this is my thoughts on this. I think what they'll do is they will get all their apples, they'll juice all their apples, they will test the sugar content of the apple juice, a sample of the apple juice, and then they will correct that by adding more sugar to it and more acidity. So I think they'll test the acidity level, and I think they'll test the sugar level, and then they will add acidity or something that takes acidity away and then add sugar as well, so they get that nice kind of balance. I think that's what they'll do, but I'll have to ask that question. And then I don't know, the internet's full of answers, but never the ones to the questions I want to ask. But there we go, cider. It's a success, it's nice, I'm going to drink it, and I'm going to enjoy it.